After maxing out the affinity of a companion in Fallout 4, they will reward you with their companion perk, and in this video I will go through all 12 base game companion perks from what I think are the worst to the best. Hi, I'm Mo and I'm trapped in Fallout. Number 12. Piper, Gift of Gab. This perk gives you twice the amount of XP for certain conversations and location discovery. Given that there are only just a fixed number of locations, once you've discovered all the locations, this perk basically loses most of its value right away, and for this reason I have considered this to be one of the worst perks amongst all the base game companion perks. Number 11. Nick Valentine, Close to Metal. This perk grants you 50% faster terminal cooldown and an extra guess when hacking terminals. This perk is worth getting if you hack a lot of terminals, and once you get it, it certainly is convenient, but at the same time it does not provide much value simply because you can overcome this easily. By the time you get this perk, chances are that you would have worked out how to break the terminals, and once you figure that out, you don't really need this cooldown period, and you usually don't need that extra hacking attempt. Number 10. X688, Shield Harmonics. This perk gives you a flat 20% energy resistance, and since it is a flat energy resistance, it will shield you from basically energy damage against all enemies. But other than that, it doesn't really do anything much else. If it, say, provided an additional damage boost, then it probably would have been worth getting and perhaps a bit further down this list. But other than that, you can actually get around this by just having better armor with better energy resistance, therefore not really having to get it. That said, having it is good anyway, but there are other better perks on this list. Number 9. Codsworth, Robot Sympathy. This perk gives you plus 10 damage resistance versus robot energy weapon. This perk provides a damage resistance but only against a single enemy type, and that's why it's at position 9. Had it perhaps provided a damage resistance against multiple enemies or all enemies, then it would have been much more worth getting. Curie, Combat Medic. This perk basically gives you 100 HP if your HP falls below 10%, but only once every 24 hours. You get to use this perk again every 24 hours. However, this can also be a lifesaver, moving this up on the list. Given that by the time you get this perk, you will probably have a good defense anyway, and you will probably be able to access a lot of good aid items, 100 HP will help you, but chances are you probably won't fall under 10 HP that often anyway. For that reason, I've put this at position 8. Number 7. Hancock, Isodoped. You gain 20% damage when your rads are at 250 or more. Again, chances are that you will accumulate a lot of rads and not always heal up, and when this happens you will now do an additional 20% more damage. This is actually a great thing about this perk, as you can compound this with other companion perks as well as in-game perks to further boost your damage. This is effectively a great damage dealer and would work well with pretty much any build, given that you're able to maintain a high amount of rads on you at any given time, and that is why it is at position number 7. Number 6. Kate, Trigger Rush. You will regenerate action points much more quickly if your health drops below 25%. The great thing about this companion perk is that this will work with pretty much any build, but builds that use VATS would really benefit from this. In moments when your health does drop below 25%, the extra regeneration of your AP points means you can effectively slow down your game and get in some critical hits to help survive potentially final moments that you would pretty much end up preventing. Number 5. Strong, Berserk. With this perk, you will do an additional 20% more damage with any weapon if your health drops below 25%. This is another great perk to have, although it will not be easy to get given how hard it is to get Strong to actually like you. That said, getting this perk will simply give you a plus 20% damage weapon boost when your health drops below 25%. This is again another great damage dealer perk to have. Again, as you play the game, anything that helps you to deal out more damage, especially when your health is low and passive happens, is a great way to avoid getting taken out yourself. And this is why this perk makes the number 5 spot on this list. Number 4. Dance, Know Your Enemy. With this perk, you will do an additional 20% more damage against feral ghouls, super mutants, and synths, and later in the game you will encounter stronger versions of ghouls, mutants, and synths. And as a result, anything that deals additional damage to these types of enemies right off the bat, without having to rely on the current levels of your health or anything like that, is a big perk. Unlike some already listed perks that only activate when your health drops below a certain amount, this perk is activated as soon as you get it, meaning you will end up doing big damage to these types of enemies, which are potentially some of the more stronger types of enemies out in the Commonwealth. Number 4. Deacon, Cloak and Dagger. With this perk, you will do an additional 20% sneak attack damage, and your stealth burst duration will increase by 40%. Again, similar to other companion perks listed in this video, getting a massive damage boost to your sneak damage especially gives you the potential to one-shot most enemies in the game. With the combination of certain perks and legendary effects, sneak damage can pretty much skyrocket, but in addition to this perk, this will just map your damage on another level entirely. Better yet is that this perk is rather easy to get. All you really need to do is become companions with Deacon, and over time you will rather get this perk quite easily because it is somewhat rather easy to increase Deacon's affinity. Number 2. MacCready, Killshot. With this perk, you will have an additional 20% accuracy in VATS when trying to pull off a headshot, but in reality it is actually much higher. This has got to be one of the best companion perks on this list for the simple reason that you will be able to end up pulling off many more headshots from a long distance. Again, the more shots that you pull off from a distance, then the better and easier it will be for you when traveling the Commonwealth. Also, it is worth mentioning that this perk has actually been known to glitch out. By that I mean sometimes it increases the accuracy far more significantly than just 20%. Some reported to have been all the way up to 40, 50 and so on. Number 1. Preston Garvey, United We Stand. Getting this perk will allow you to deal 20% more damage and increase your damage resistance by 20 when you are fighting 3 opponents at the same time. This perk has got to be one of the most useful, most versatile and most damaging perk out there. As you travel around the Commonwealth, you will find yourself surrounded by enemies as opposed to just having a one-on-one fight. And when this happens, you will automatically do 20% more damage and increase the amount of damage resistance that you have. On top of this perk works very well with pretty much any build and whether you need it or not. For instance, with Deacon's perk, you have to be in sneak mode, or with others, you need to have your HP to a certain level. With this one, this is pretty much active as soon as you encounter 3 enemies or more at the same time, giving this the number 1 spot on this list. In this video, I have listed all 12 base game companion perks from what I think are the worst to the best companion perk. Getting the right perk will certainly help you in your travels in the Commonwealth. That said, you will actually need to recruit the companions to get their perks. Check out my Fallout 4 companion playlist that you see on the screen now, where I explain how to actually recruit the companion and what you can do to max out their affinity. Click on the playlist you see on the screen now to find out more.